So you've spoken about IBS, you've spoken about the microbiome, and we're talking about hormones, and people don't know that they're all connected. So could you, let's lean in, and this is going to be a juicy topic. Can you talk about the relationship between your microbiome, your gut, and your hormones?
So we're assuming that we've talked about the hormone cycle and the fluctuations, because I know that's a topic that you've got into already. But a really important thing that we need to remember is that we have to be able to, when the hormones are used up, get them out of the body in a safe and efficient way. And so that's when we think about the interplay of the liver and the microbiome. So there are a lot of bacteria in the gut that can either help or hinder that those hormones to be safely packaged up and to get out of the gut and out of body. And if we have a lot of issues with an imbalance of bacteria, we can see hormones being recirculated, and that confuses the feedback systems in the body. So if our body is trying to decide what needs to be made at a certain time, it looks at what is already there. If our gut is recirculating a lot of estrogen, for example, then that may affect production and things like that.
And can you highlight what would make your body recycle estrogen?
Yes. So if we've got particular bacteria present, they have a byproduct, which is an enzyme. And that enzyme can uncouple estrogen from the stool. So what I mean by that is if estrogen has been used in the body and the liver has processed it and it's ready to leave the body, it gets packaged up with bile and it forms part of your stool. So your bowel movement, your poo. And then that is moved through the digestive tract and out of the body. But if we have a lot of bacteria present that produce this enzyme, then it can uncouple that estrogen that was bound up before, and that can be reabsorbed into the body and recirculate. So that's one thing that can affect our hormone levels. We've also got issues with if we've got a lot of inflammatory bacteria. So the majority of our bacteria are there to live together with us in harmony, symbiotically. We help them, they help us. But sometimes we've got an overgrowth of less helpful bacteria, which can drive up inflammation. So that is when our immune system starts to get involved and gets a bit fiery. And if we've got a source of inflammation in the gut, then for us as women, we then end up with upregulated testosterone. And that can also affect our hormone health. So for anyone that's got polycystic ovarian syndrome, or they suspect that they do, these higher levels of testosterone and other androgens counter the symptoms of. So inflammation from gut is another big one that can affect our.
And how would people know that they have inflammation in the gut, for example?
So I would look at the digestive symptoms. When I speak to people on an initial call, I will always ask, do you have regular bowel movement? If you have constipation, you're not having at least 1 or 2 bowel movements a day, then that could be affecting your hormones, because that's another scenario where you're more likely to have estrogen uncoupled and recirculate. So constipation is one symptom. Bloating and discomfort. So bloating and cramping around bowel movements or lots of gas, things like that. Those could be symptoms that there's some sort of imbalance in the gut that we want to look at. We've also got, for example, reflux. So if you have issues with food repeating on you and things like that, that's another sign that there could be an imbalance, but in a slightly different part of the digestive system.
And knowing about the balance between always symbiote, as you say, it's a relationship between your fungi, bacteria, good, bad. There's no good, bad. It's just about the balance. What are you seeing with people coming to you with hormonal issues? In the lab testing, what are you noticing with the imbalance of bad bacteria?
So very often there's a real low presence of beneficial or commensal bacteria. So those are the ones that we expect to see. And when they take up a lot of real estate, they are supporting our digestion, supporting our immune system, producing kind of beneficial compounds as well, like vitamins and minerals and things like that. So in the less helpful side of the bacteria, we've got particular strains that are pushing up this enzyme that can recirculate estrogen, so pushing up the beta glucuronidase enzyme. We also have issues with a family of bacteria that we call gram negative, and gram negative refers to their cell wall. So the issue with gram negative bacteria is that they have little compounds that break off, and they can activate our immune system. So they have these little compounds called LPS, or lipopolysaccharides, and they can set off these immune cascades, these inflammatory cascades in the body. And so often what I'm looking for in a gut test is I want to see what someone's digestive function is doing. So are they actually breaking things down? Because if they're not, then that's lots of food for problematic bacteria to feed on. I'm looking at signs that they have a healthy gut wall, or if their gut wall is compromised, and that ties into the LPS picture. I'm looking for these bacteria that have the byproduct of beta glucuronidase, and I'm looking at this gram negative load to see if you've got lots of LPS. And if you have lots of LPS producers and you have a compromised gut wall, then we know that it's very likely that you've got this issue of what we call where these products are passing through the gut wall and into your circulatory system and affecting the other systems in your body.
And the symptoms of that, of what an individual will be experiencing, is exactly what you spoke about: bloating, maybe heavy or lighter periods, pain, headaches as well.
Yeah, I would say mood. I want to bring kind of mood symptoms into it as well. And that's a really big one for endometriosis as well. And actually PCOS, because if our hormones are not doing what they should be doing, we tend to have mood symptoms. But if we've got a lot of inflammatory things passing into our bloodstream, it can have an effect on brain health and therefore mood. And so there is this theory of depression that looks at inflammatory cytokines in the body. And so I would say mood symptoms can be a big one, and also brain fog. So if you're having a lot of brain fog and you've got these digestive symptoms that are possibly new, or you've just normalized them because you've had them for so long, it's worth connecting the dots in your body, because as we know, nothing in the body exists in isolation. And so figuring out how things all fit together just gives you more power in your decisions, and kind of lifestyle interventions.
I think that's a really important piece for our listeners, is exactly that. We think it's a hormone issue, or we think it's a mental health issue or a stress issue. But as Marianne has just highlighted, your bacteria starts in your gut, but it's affecting your whole system through your inflammatory cascade, your immune system, which goes through your gut up to your brain, through your liver, through to your skin as well. And so if somebody is struggling just with your normal day-to-day, what we commonly see, or what we've considered the norm is, okay, I'm always going to be bloated. My skin is always going to be a bit shabby. I need a coffee to keep going. I'm really fatigued. I have anxiety. So all of these things is, I think, what everybody has, right? And so we've accepted it as normal.